Broadcasting from an undisclosed location. From a secret hunting spot known only to him. And the guy who told him about it. And possibly the guy who told him. It's a show all about hunting in New Zealand and around the globe. This is The Hunting Show. Find The Hunting Show on Facebook and Twitter for up-to-date information on upcoming shows and topics.
Welcome back to another episode of The Hunting Show. I'm your host, Stephen Spargo. And I'm going to talk to you about a little thing that happened that's a little bit off topic. Well, in fact, it's completely off topic. I was in Tauranga in the last 48 hours on business, and we were running late, Jessica, my wife, and I had to leave town after finishing my other job to get over there for a business meeting. And because we were in a hurry and we wanted to get to the hotel because we were tired, we decided to cruise into Wendys in Gate Pa. Now, if you're listening, anyone from Wendys, don't stress out at this point. What happened, I went up and I ordered a burger, and without me listening, and this probably shows that I don't listen to everything my wife says, we probably should have, we kind of tried to order the same burger, except when they arrived, they were two different burgers. Now, you would think at this point I'm going to go on about how bad their service was, but it's not that kind of story. What actually happened, I went up to the counter, grumpy little rage face on, and I'm not normally the grumpy guy. Normally I'm the happy guy that doesn't care as long as I get fed, but they got me at a bad moment, and up I went. And the polite young lady behind the counter, I say young lady makes me sound old, but the polite lady behind the counter probably hits her after-school job, pointed up at the board and told me what I said, and there was two names that were kind of similar, and I didn't read the other one. Anyway, she misinterpreted what I wanted, or more aptly, I probably communicated what I wanted badly. So I took my medicine, still kind of grumpy, went back to my table, sat next to my thoroughly embarrassed wife, and proceeded to tell her how disappointed I was and how it wasn't what I wanted. And again, this is probably a little bit out of character for me. I get halfway through my burger, still not entirely happy, little grump face on, and the manager came out. I thought, here we go, this will be interesting. And she came over and asked if there was a problem. And I explained to her what happened and still tried to stick up for my end of the story. And I don't know why, because I was completely in the wrong. The customer's not always right, people. Anyway, she proceeded to tell me that I was wrong and I deserved it, but said that she would replace my burger to appease me. Or she didn't say it that way. She just says, how about I replace your burger and get you what you wanted? And I was a bit of a dork. I was that guy. I was the grumpy guy. Wasn't cool. So if anyone from Wendys and Gate Pa is listening, and I hope there is, I'm really sorry. I'm not normally like that. You caught me at a bad moment, and I was. You probably after work talked about that arsehole that came in, and and I sincerely apologise. Yeah, you got me at a bad moment. My fault, not yours. And thank you so much for your spectacular service. The manager in there particularly was very, very polite and congenial and gave me what I considered to be probably the best service I ever could have had, particularly because I was being a bit of a prima donna. So sorry about that. My bad. Gee, that's definitely eating some humble pie right there. Kind of hurts my chest for some reason. Anyway, one thing I'm enjoying about this time of the year, and this is coming back onto the subject of hunting, is all the neat stuff that's coming out. There's lots of new DVDs floating around. There's some great products coming out about now to try and get that Christmas rush, both in New Zealand here and around the world. New products come out. Seems to be some come out before Christmas and then some come out before different hunting seasons around the world. But I'm really enjoying watching them come out and see how they go. But I do particularly like seeing stuff from New Zealand. I'm also enjoying seeing lots of really interesting books come out, and one of those has come across my desk, and it's The Heart of Hunting. So joined by telephone, I have Greig Caigou. Greg, how are you?
Yeah, good, and very well, and good job with the name, Stephen. It's always a bit of a mouthful, that one.
Yeah. Greg, this, I have to say, and I'm not even blowing smoke up your anything, this has got to be one of, this book, I picked it up, and I immediately started flicking through it. And the interesting thing is Mrs. Spargo did the same, and she's a photographer, but she really enjoyed looking through it. Tell us, what was the inspiration? How did this book come about?
Oh, well, there's a variety of things that went in the pot there. But actually, even before I talk about that, those kind of comments that you've just mentioned, I was going to ask, what really appealed to you. And I just want to say right at the front, we're just been so thankful for all the hunters out there that are listening to your podcast, just for the incredible support on this. They've just been flying off the shelf kind of thing, but it's more the support, because we knew right at the start this wasn't going to be the sort of classic, the typical hunting book, with lots and lots of Joe and I went hunting kind of stories, Stephen, and so we knew, for example, there's barely any shots of hearing me with the trophy, shot animal, that kind of a thing. So we knew right from the start that it was a different tact images, and not necessarily even images that were on the hunt of the story in the book. So the inspiration then going back was just to provide some quality images and some storytelling, but to put it all together in a package that was more, I guess a level up in terms of quality. So that's why it's hard covered, that's why it's large format, and that sort of goes a bit counter with what else is going at the moment with paperback. Like my previous two books were paperback. So this was the prime motivator, really, Stephen, to get it going.
And you've actually nailed that. This is going to probably end up on my coffee table next to my book about Elvis. And take that as a compliment, please.
Will mine be on top or underneath Elvis?
It depends on whether I'm having a beer or not. Anyway, this is you've captured all sorts of things, but can you tell us what you write? Is this actually, I'm going to ask you, this is getting messy, but is this a photographic book that happens to have a story in it, or is it a storybook that happens to have photos in it, or do you think you've got that combination perfect?
That's a bit of a hard to know, and the readers will tell us that in the end, I guess. But both ways, it's a showcase, really. It's a showcase of Matt's excellent images. He's a superb photographer, and I hope my writing matches that kind of level. But it was also to showcase writing that was hunting yarns, but also some bits in there about from a thoughtful hunter's point of view, not a kind of rack and stack 'em type yarn. And that is always going to be tricky to combine both of those. So there are stories of hunts. There's my first bow hunt. There's hunts in Fiordland, Wapiti country. There's a full tale of a hunt after bull tahr in South Westland. But then there are also sort of things off on the tangent. Around things you see along the way, why people go hunting. There's a reflection from a 90-year-old gent, after all those years of knocking animals down, what are the things that you remember? Well, actually, it's your cobbers and places, and so it's trying to mix all that through, and hence the title, I guess. What's at the heart of hunting? And for a lot of hunters, it's at the end of the day, yes, we want to shoot something, we want for meat or trophy, whatever, but at the end of the day, there's a whole lot of other things that go in the mix, and so, I guess the book was trying to capture that mix.
And one thing I liked about it, one of many things I've liked about this book so far, is you've also captured other hunters, and what I mean by that is you've got a cat in here. I wonder whether that's a bit controversial, but you've got a cat in there, you've even got a bird that's just got back from a hunt there. Where did that come from?
That's partly the hunter philosopher in me. I've got this bit of a nickname out there, and don't want to get that too kind of branded, I guess. But there's even a YouTube clip calling me the hunter philosopher, which is a bit interesting. But I guess that all came to me in that chapter that's called "I Saw Some Hunters Today," and so so Matt went out and got just a primo image of a gannet diving. I mean, how hard is that? But
and that thing is motoring.
That thing is motoring. It's a bullet. It's a native bullet, really. But it's that kind of thing. That there are hunters all around us, and Matt and I see ourselves as just fitting into that same natural rhythm. So, you can't drag that kind of leaning out from away from the deep time. It's in us, an urge to hunt, and it's how we fit into that process that I wanted to talk about. So you do have wild cats that are predators. You do have kingfish. You do have gannets. You do have stoats. There's an image in there, a stoat, and some of Matt's primo bird photography. You've got that little bird with a piece of insect still in its mouth. You've got the heron dancing and chasing sort of a little small fish into the shallows and then grabbing one. And we're part of, we're predators in a way.
That's right.
And it's that whole theme really of hunting. We've had one reviewer comment on, what about the fishing chapter? Again, there are other authors like myself who see, fishing is just sort of hydraulic hunting. And so we wanted to get that theme right through. These things are at the heart of hunting.
Oh, and the fly fishing photos are spectacular, by the way.
Are you a fisherman, Stephen?
I do a bit of fly fishing. I'm definitely not. I don't do a lot in the old ocean there, although there's a few photos of me kicking around after some decent catches. But the fly fishing photos...
you'll appreciate that chapter. The sweet fishing in the nearby, far away. Just out the back door, but you feel a long way away.
Oh, and I live in Taupo, so I relate to that.
Of course, true.
Yeah, it's a 5-minute drive, and I'm right in there. You've had a great response from this. I've noticed these things flying off the shelves. How does that feel to know that this book is not... I mean, all your books have hit the shelves, but this one's hit the shelves running almost, isn't it?
Running, yeah. It's good to see that happening because we weren't sure if people would appreciate that. You kind of hunters, I guess, get used to the magazines and flicking through a paperback, and there's almost hunter porn out there, where you've got to have behind the big stag or the trout sort of thrust up towards the camera and that kind of thing, and we didn't want to go there. There's barely any images in the book of hunters with dead stuff. Well, the cat's got the bird's got something. In fact, I had a quick flick before you rang, and I can only see a hunter with a dead animal on page 155 and 79. It's the one with the trout, and then and each time those dead animals relate to a reason in the story that yes, we are hunters still, and we will look at a lot of deer, a lot of chamois, but at the end of the day, we will also take one for the salami at home.
Now, this is a question I didn't prep you about, but there's an image on page 135, and as you frantically flick to it, it's the wapiti.
Great to have a copy of my book here.
There's the picture of the wapiti there, and I want you to talk to me a little bit more about that one.
Look, actually, that's an interesting photo. Matt had a block. He won a block in the wapiti ballot. And he was down there in the whitewater, and he just came upon this dead animal, and he was gutted, really.
Yep.
It's a great big animal, and just left there. Now, to be fair, possibly the hunter shot it, and it wounded it, and it got away a bit in the bush, and he couldn't locate it, or he or she couldn't locate it. So we're definitely not going to point the finger there, but. The flip side of that, Stephen, is I've seen images like this. I've seen images of big bull wapiti with just one back stake taken out of them, and I just sort of ache on that. And I've been in that place. I shot an 11-point wapiti several years ago in the wapiti country and sat beside it as it kind of breathed its last, and then it just really, really hit me because here's this great big mammoth animal, like two of us couldn't even move it around. Have you been in the wapiti country, Stephen?
No, it's on my bucket list.
On the bucket list.
Yeah.
Look, they're just mammoth animals, some big animals, and I thought, here I'm way in the middle of the wilderness zone, and I'm not going to be carrying all this out. And then it just sort of grated with something that went right back to when I was young, and my father, was letting me head off into the hills at 15, and it was always about, if you shoot it, you bring it out. Kind of, that was the ethic that I grew up with, and they were meat hunters, really. It was for the table, and here I was, I thought, this is just too far. And we took back stakes and 1.5 back legs, and we just struggled, let alone the antlers.
Yeah. Actually, this is a good hunter philosopher's question for you. What are your thoughts regarding trophy hunting versus meat hunting? When I was young, I spent a lot of time, Stephen, chasing after a trophy. In particular, my interest in those days was chamois, and I was after the magical 10-inch chamois. And I shot a lot of 9 5/8 and 9 6/8 and 9 7/8, and you sort of measure them dead on the ground, and you were trying for this number. And but I took the meat also, in those days, but I was sort of on a mission. Yeah. And I made a few, looking back, just not good decisions as a young hunter. But in a way, I think you've kind of got to go through that process. And to the dedicated trophy hunter out there and your listeners, I've got full respect in the sense that they do a lot of reconnaissance work. They're very selective about what they shoot. They've got specific goals in mind, and they won't shoot anything other than that. But it's kind of like, what do you do at the end of after the great quest? Yeah. Does it mean you have to go out and shoot something slightly bigger, the Douglas score? You shoot it with your left hand tied behind your back? Do you now shoot it with a bow and next with a slingshot? And it's kind of like, where does it end? And I think you have to go through the process, and at some point say to yourself, well, I'm done with that. I'm done with killing animals just for a set of horns or something on the wall, and then you find other goals. And that's what I really like. And Matt's come through that process, really. We were young once, and it was kind of like shoot everything that moved, and then you get a bit more selective, and then you go after trophies, and then one day Matt decided, well, I'm done with that, and he started bow hunting, and now he's finding new joy behind the camera because he can have multiple stalks, as he can with a bow, but you don't need to kill everything that you're getting close to. Talking about that, any advice for young hunters or new hunters more aptly, is there anything that you'd like to say to them if they're just starting out and they're wanting to get that first kill, and they've got all their intentions, I'm sure, are good? They want a good, clean kill, and and all hunters know that doesn't always happen. You've got any advice for that particular person?
Yeah, I'm seeing, to be honest, Stephen, when I watch video clips on YouTube of hunters out on their trip, I'm seeing a lot more people taking the meat. Good. And I think it comes down to respect for the animal, and you shoot your trophy or go after your trophy, but have respect for the animal. So that comes through in the way we talk about them. Even talking about goats, for example, still a living creature. Have respect for the animal. Kill it quickly. So if that means that you're not a good shot beyond 200, then get in closer than 200. Right. Get in as close as you can. Make sure that animal goes down straight away, and then utilise all the meat. And if it's not for yourself, there's heaps of people love goat sausages, goat curry, love a venison gift, Yeah. And I think that, to be honest, I think that adds a lot more drama to the hunt too. Yeah, you should have to lug out a heavy weight. That's what sets us apart from mountain bikers who zap through the environment, or trampers or whatever. That we go in with a load and we come out with a bigger load, and it's earned meat. There's a sort of sense of worthiness to it, isn't there?
Oh, very primal, isn't it? It's got to be. Yeah. And you've segued really nicely into my next point. One thing.
How about that?
Look at that. One thing this book seems to capture incredibly well is that that thing about hunting, and listeners are about to roll their eyes because I say it all the time, is that hunting is who you're with and where you are. That's what the key to the sport is, or to our craft is probably a better word for it. And you've got an image on page 133, and it stopped me in my tracks. Yeah, flick over to 133. We talked about this one off here.
Oh, that one. Yeah, no, I love that photo.
There's something about it. It's not necessarily the most technically or accurate photo. There's something
Matt
about
would look
that
at
photo.
that and go, oh, it needs more contrast. It needs more blue.
Yeah.
But when I took that one, the words that came to mind were Fjordlander beckons. And Murray and I were in the tinny. We'd arrived in Te Anau the night before, and the lake was like a storm, and so we tipped the tinny upside down and slept under that in one of those lay-bys with, a whole lot of tourists sleeping in their camper van. I think they thought we were a bit weird. And the next morning we got up at Sparrows, and we were across the lake, and it was coming into that's the glaze knock that you're looking at there, and it was like glass, and there's the mountains in the background, and that's a wilderness area. The wilderness area starts there, the glaze knock wilderness area, and it's kind of like the things of adventure are beckoning, and it was, and for me that's what Fjordland's about. When you hunt the big wild, you're in the holy grail, I think, of wilderness hunting when you're down there. And sorry.
It also reminded me about that. For me, it's that pause that you take when you realise how amazing where you are is just before a hunt. I'm sure most hunters do that, or maybe I'm just weird. There's this pause you take when you're looking out over a bit of scenery or over a bit of land that you're about to hunt. And that picture for me captured that. And that's pretty fluffy stuff for a Monday night.
No, that's not fluffy stuff. Like, even if you go forward a few pages to page 137, you've got me at dawn standing right on the main ridge above the glaze knock, which is down in the sort of misty area there. And I love getting to the ridge tops early in the morning and getting photos like that, and they're kind of mind-blowing. I'm my happy place. But it's and Matt's the same. There's these things that we sort of rush on by in pursuit of the goal, whether it's getting to a place, whether it's trying to find the animals, and sometimes it's just good to pause, reflect, and think, we're in an amazing place, and we got here muscle-powered, living off what's on our back, and that all of that kind of drama just feeds into it, If a photo could capture all that, it'd be great. But I'm pleased to hear you thought page 133 did something in that respect.
Yeah,
that was worth my while bending down in the boat and telling Murray to stop the motor, and we'll just
now,
as long as I could stop it, you can't stop right there for very long, because these helicopter-sized sandflies sort of see you in the distance and come.
I know, and they're the sort that if you're wearing DEET, they just think it's spicy. Yeah, it's some good stuff there.
Spice their blood. Yeah, they drag you off in the bush and suck you dry down there, that's for sure, if you tarry too long.
Now, you've been a hunter for a reasonable length of time, or since you were a young chap, you must have a really good hunting story for us.
Really good hunting story. Well, actually, a trip. Yeah, that image there is on a previous trip to the one I'm thinking about in Fjordland. But we went into the glaze not one time, and I followed, retracing the steps of Gordon Max, an old hunter from way back, who was ancient at the time here in Nelson. And he talked about, sort of seeing the map back in 1956 that just basically had the glaze knock and then nothing behind, sort of beyond it much. And I had the pleasure of looking at his slides and sort of was able, I think that's the head of the Henderson. And he's looking down on the Edith Saddle there. So as much as possible, after talking to Gordon at length and seeing his photos, retracing his steps, and then coming home and then showing them photos, and that was just a neat time. But my favourite hunts are always after chamois. I love alpine hunting. So does Matt. Matt rates chamois as number one game animal, and it's mainly because of the terrain they live in. They're not super stupid. They can be at times, but they're just a pretty animal, smart animal, and and to hunt them, you're in good terrain, great views, good light, which helps the photographer, and it requires a bit of effort.
Well, that is The Heart of Hunting by Greig Caigou and Matt Winter. Greg, if someone wants to buy this book for themselves or maybe for someone for Christmas, gee, that was a bit of a commercial plug there.
Excellent.
Where can they find it? Can they buy it online?
So they can go online to Greig Publishing. They can take it direct from there. If they want the personally signed copy with Matt and I writing some sort of pithy comment,
gee, I didn't get one of those.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, if you go to this Gmail address, it's just theheartofhunting@gmail.com.
Yep.
And Matt and I are trying to get out signed copies to as many folk as we can in between.
Doing other
stuff. Being manic and mowing the lawns and going hunting and tuning stuff up.
So what I'll do is I'll put that email address on the comment section of this podcast. All you need to do is scroll down and find it. These are also available in hunting and fishing stores and Paper Plus, aren't they?
Yep, yeah, and with Coles. So the usual good stores, as they say. Yep.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Greg.
Hey, you're very welcome, Stephen.
I'm probably going to go back inside and have a flick through now. You've given me a bit more of a background again, and definitely recommend this book to those of you who are listening that have hunters in their lives that'd like to buy something for Christmas, or ask someone else to buy it for you, or get it for yourself. It's a great book. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, no, thank you.
Now, quickly before I go, the Hunter Point app is out and available now, so please download that. Go to your iTunes store and have a look at it. It's a great app, and I'm really proud to say that it was created right here in New Zealand, or certainly designed right here in New Zealand. And if you'd like to win that great prize, thanks to NZ Outdoor Hunting Magazine, that's a year subscription. All you've got to do is be active. Find our Facebook page, or even send me an email. Tell us what you think of the show, good and bad. And I don't get too much bad feedback, but we do get the odd bit. So feel free to send that through to me, and I will consider it. I will take it on board and do with it what I think needs to be done. So again, give us some feedback. Share the page. And it could be your photo at the top of our board there as winning, or from winning the NZ Outdoor Hunting Magazine prize. That's me for another week. Be careful and good hunting.
Podcasting from an undisclosed location, from a secret hunting spot known only to him, and the guy who told him about it, and possibly the guy who told the guy who told him. It's a show all about hunting in New Zealand and around the globe. This is The Hunting Show. Find The Hunting Show on Facebook and Twitter for up-to-date information on upcoming shows and topics.